I think I've reinforced for myself that with enough like focus and bandwidth, like I can learn anything. And I have to be able to learn anything.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back. We got Mr. Rich Jordan in the house. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
It was great. I went back and I listened to, I never saw it, but I saw I think you did the 4th episode. So I listened to the original story of how you got rolling in the HVAC. And, you went and got your MBA and you had a whole plan. No, I'm just kidding. That's a whole joke. So why you had no idea what you're doing. And I love every part of it.
Whoa. Don't slander me like that.
No, yeah, don't slander me. So let everybody know kind of your background a little bit, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So I spent my 20s in the Marine Corps as a Marine Corps infantry officer. I left in 2020, mostly to like be able to spend more time with my wife. We had spent like 4 years geographically separated due to my service and her school. So it was time to leave and want to figure out what to do next. And basically, when I looked back at my time in the Corps, I realized that like I was at my best when I was on a small team with high stakes and having to figure it out far away from support. And to me, like small business in America and small business kind of met that criteria. And I figured my Marine Corps style of leadership would translate well to blue collar tradesmen. And that's panned out to be true. So I sort of did I did basically like a search in my last couple of months in the Marines, and I happened to find a plumbing company for sale. I got under contract before I had left, and 5 weeks after my last day in the Marine Corps, I was standing in front of a couple plumbers taking over my first plumbing business. So it was me, my partner, and 3 plumbers to start. That was September of 2020, and now it's October of 2024, and we're at as of my count last night was that we're at 99 people. So our next hire will be 100.
So just simple stuff, no big deal,
Yeah.
So let's talk about that first day. So you didn't have a huge plumbing background. We've hired a lot of my guys are military, ex-military, so very used to it. So you're handy, right? It's just how it is, right? And so Jack, similar thing, jumps into the HVAC space. You obviously didn't promise them that you were some grandioso plumber that could like make magic, but what did you say to them in that first day? Do you remember?
Yeah, really. I mean, it was about, I don't have all the answers, but I've got, got good intentions, and I'm here to learn from you guys, and I'm here to like help enable you. So, and the more that you can show me how your like day-to-day work happens, the more I can try to find ways to make it more frictionless and make us all more productive and have like, better balance and all that. So really it was like, I'm here in support of you. And that was seemingly like pretty well received.
Mm-hmm. And so you have the first company, you're growing kind of, what was kind of how long did it take you before you were in the trenches and kind of building it? Did you feel like, okay, this is like, maybe this is, I'm sure you don't feel that even today, but like, basically you said like, I think I'm onto something here. Like I could see myself like buying more companies.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, it was weird when you said in the trenches, like we were definitely in the trenches in the early days. Like I was like routinely digging holes in people's front yards to expose sewer pipes and water service lines and stuff like that. So, help, hired on some like more like low level laborers to do some of that stuff. Hired some CSR, so I didn't have to answer the phone anymore. Dispatcher, started getting some of that like day to day, like just like being in the laundry machine, just getting like washed over and over and over. Like got some of that off my plate. I'd say like about a year later, at that point we had grown because like the first year my partner stayed at his W-2 job, like in his career, because the business wasn't large enough to support us both. So I ran it like largely by myself with some like augmentation from him for the first year. And then he left his job and joined us full time. So once like we had built the team, and we had probably at that point we had gone from like 3 people to like 15. So it felt like we had a little bit of a business. He had joined, I had some help. And at that point we felt like maybe we could strike out and do something else. And we happened to meet another business owner from New Hampshire. So my initial business was in New Jersey. We met an HVAC business owner in New Hampshire, Dale Sanford, and at an industry event. And he essentially proposed to us like, hey, like, are you guys crazy enough to buy a company in New Hampshire? I'm looking to get out of this thing. And we were. So
yeah.
And that like now that's our largest company. We took that over in 2022, like Q1 of 2022. And that was like 15 people and 3 million of revenue. That company now is like 15 million of revenue and like 65 people. So that's been a big win for us over the last 2 years. Yeah, so I mean, really it was like a year later when we felt like we could maybe start thinking.
So you did most of those jobs, so I'd be interested to hear what I just heard this morning from one of my coaching clients who's working for an HVAC company in the Midwest that's being consulted by a private equity group. And this was the comment from the private equity guy. And I would be interested to hear your reaction because I just heard it this morning and I don't know how I feel. I have mixed emotions, how I feel about it. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. So he said that per office person, you only need one office person per million to get the job done.
I can see how he'd get there. I think it's hard early. You know what I mean? Like it's not that much harder to run like a $5 million business than it is to run a $3 million business. So a lot of times like you're going to need those 5 people to run the 3 million and you might only still need those 5 people to run the 5. So I think like at a small size, I'd say for us right now, yeah, I mean, I wish that was true. So like,
aren't you always building for like the next 2 years, like ahead of the 2 years, right? Somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these guys, like they're really trying to wrench down on the bottom line, right? They're trying to like profit maximize as opposed to growth maximize. So I'd say we're probably hiring ahead of growth, and like we could do it with a little bit fewer people, but I think the customer experience would degrade slightly.
100%.
Or like things like AR would start ballooning slowly, like just like some stuff wouldn't happen,
Yeah. So 3 million to, so 15 employees to 65, like, these, and this is all respect I'm merely stating, but when you buy it from a gentleman, he's got it where he likes it, right? Was it a combination of the operations that you brought to it, or was it just the potential that was piping that wasn't being fit? Like, was it a combination of both to grow that quickly?
It was a lot of the growth for our New Hampshire business has been, at least initially, like say from like the $3 to $6 million kind of growth story, was he had built a really strong foundation and a strong reputation. So like, for instance, like he had, 1,200 memberships, which for me at the time, like that was like, I'm like, this is great. But there was just a lot of like operational thing. Like there was just a lot of like stuff broken on the operational side. For instance, like so we took over in 2022. In 2021, the company missed 12,000 phone calls And like they were largely unaware of that. So like, okay, let's fix that. Let's like hire another CSR. Let's like reroute the phones in a different way. Let's track this data so that we know it and understand it. And if we're going to miss all these calls, we ought to know that we are, and then we can manage to it. Technician productivity was really low. And we've retained all those initial technicians actually. But they just like didn't have the tools. They didn't have the price book, to like make their job easy or efficient. They didn't have like the expectation set on like what good productivity was. We actually lowered the price
Okay.
of service, which I think is like
that's an
pretty
issue. I'm so confused right now.
Yeah.
Hold on, Rich. I'm going to need to stop the podcast and walk away because
Yeah.
I got a story for that on the back of that. But now I'm interested because that's not what's in the books. So talk to me, sir.
So for us, it was like this it's kind of this idea of like taking it. We took a step back in order to take 5 steps forward. So,
okay,
like I said, like the technicians historically at this company had been extremely unproductive, and like unproductive meaning like for every 10 hours that they would work, they might bill for 1 hour or less.
Okay.
So, and part of that was like a low conversion rate. But like, so as a result of being unproductive, the previous owner, as an answer to that, it's not necessarily wrong. It's just not necessarily what I would have done. Is that, okay, we're unproductive. We're not billing a whole lot of hours for the amount that we're working. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to jack the price of an hour really high so that 1 hour that we're billing for is enough to cover our costs. And like, hey, like the math does work, right? But to me, like that was trapping us in that problem forever because at that rate, and it really truly was an exorbitant rate. Like we were never going to be able to get the productivity gains that we needed because we just couldn't get people to buy. So we actually reduced that price 25% on the service side. And then productivity shot up like 4 to 6 times. And we like unscrewed service. Like it took me about a year to figure that out actually. And as soon as we figured that out, like service took off, and we like restructured incentive plans, and we did a whole bunch of stuff at one time, brought in some killers, and service took off.
So this is such an interesting conversation for me. Price is such a sensitive topic. It's something that nobody wants to talk about, how you package it, everything like that. So we're moving in. We've already moved, but we're moving into a new area in the second location. And if you stack up in our current market from where we are against our competitors in our other market, we're sometimes $6,000 and $9,000 and $12,000 cheaper than the second location competitors, right? But we've done a lot of work on the back end from our suppliers to get our price down. So what's interesting is we charge more per hour than we did when I came on board, but we ran the numbers and we're actually $200 less than what we were prior to us buying it.
Sure.
Right. So it's like the price might look the same, but the way that it's, generated towards the company is so different. And I think people, one of my tactics that I tell people, especially when you're young, you try to out-earn your problems.
Yep.
Like I'm just going to jack everything up and hope that more revenue is going to create the thing. But then I realized something, and I'd love to get your talk about this. Typically, there's variables. But at the end of the day, our cost, like our controlled costs, are where you actually win in a business. Am I wrong by thinking that?
Totally agree. And I think if you look at the largest companies on the planet, right, the most successful companies on the planet, they're all extremely focused on their costs and their inputs, and where can they, can I reduce my costs, and now the company can extract some of that as profit, but then also give some back to the customer, which then makes them more competitive, builds their business, grows their volume, and turns them into billion-dollar organizations. So I think to your point, I think this is rampant in industry best practice groups in HVAC and plumbing, is that a lot of times the answer to problems, to operational problems, or productivity problems is, one, you need more people, you need more resources, and you need to charge more money, right? And like that's just a blanket answer. And for a while, like initially in the business, and we did, especially for my very first business, that very small kind of like chuck and a truck business that I started with, we did need to increase the price, so that was correct. But and we started going to these industry best practice, seminars and things. And I remember my partner, he's an engineer, comes from construction background.
Enough said. Yeah.
He had a real problem with that method, with that like mentality. And I truly didn't at the time. I was like, yeah, jack the price. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
jack the price. We're not making enough money. Jack the price. And he was more of like, hey, like let's find more efficiency. Let's maybe let's invest in some equipment that's going to make us more efficient, make us more productive, and we don't have to increase the price on the customer. Initially, like he and I didn't necessarily see eye to eye on that. I've come around on that. So I think one, it controlling your costs enables you to still provide a great service while being cost competitive for the to the customer, build a larger business, gain economies of scale, and then it's kind of, there's a flywheel there, right? Where I can spread my cost of business across more technicians because I have more customers coming in the door, which gets me more referrals, which gets me more customers, grow more technicians, So, yeah, I'm totally with you.
Because it's just like hit me in the last like 2 weeks. It's like because I talk to everybody, right? I got a guy, if they're on John's podcast, I'll hunt them down. I'll talk to them. I'll ask them questions because that's my personality, right? And it's like, okay, well, basically, you're charging more here, you're charging more there. That's great and cool. But like my business partner sold a couple years ago, and he got to see the inside of some of these behemoths, like the bigger groups, and he was like, they were getting 40% less than I was on equipment. He's like, I can't compete with that. And I go, okay, well, that's the magic. It's not like there's only, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but there's only so much you can charge before people stop going to you, right?
Yep.
Like it's really not that complicated. So when you came around to that kind of way of thinking, did you watch the company kind of take off from there? Like and you were saying like when you lower the price, then it kind of like just everything shot up, right?
Yeah. I mean, we went from like, doing in a pretty decent size business. Like I think at the time we were probably doing strictly speaking, the New Hampshire business, we were doing like maybe 5 million. And my service department was basically like gross margin negative. It didn't contribute any dollars to the company. Okay. And we just like couldn't get it going. And like I said, like we reduced the price, revamped the incentive structure, brought in some really competent technicians to augment our current technicians. We revamped like how we flip leads to sales. We did like a lot of things made a lot of changes in a short 4-month time frame. And then we saw like our gross margin for service actually get to an acceptable level. And then from there, it's been like, tweaking and tweaking cost and price and productivity to get gross margin like to target. But to get it from like gross margin negative to say like even 40% gross margin was a difficult journey.
Yeah, I bet. And so, kind of the thing that, is on everybody's mind, and I'm the recruiter for our company and, that whole thing at the current moment, like, what is your overall, as you've hired, I mean, you went from 3 people to 99. What is your philosophy on when you find that A player? Mainly, I might clip this clip out and see if I can talk my CEO into hiring this person I talked to today. But, kind of what is your philosophy, on what I consider honestly is the arms race right now for technicians. And, you have to get super creative. There's big signing bonuses. Like, how do you view hiring and kind of what's your overall philosophy?
Yeah. I mean, I think it starts with like the foundation of it is you have to run a great company. You have to run a great team. Your people have to want to come to work. They have to be like zealots for the company and what the company's about, the mission of the company, the way they're treated and led and managed, the way they're encouraged to treat the customer, right? Like you see like a lot of like high pressure sales in this business. Technicians want to get away from that. So we we take the way we lead and manage this company as our competitive advantage. And we go to great strides, like make sure that that's done like in accordance with, what I believe to be best practice. For us, that's gone a long way. Like I have a competitor down the street who currently has a $25,000 signing bonus for technicians. 25.
Is that same group? Is that the same private equity group that lost everybody?
It's not actually. This is like he's an independently owned.
25,000.
Yeah, and like we haven't lost a single technician to him, and we won't. I can confidently say that we won't. Funny enough, like we used to have a signing, but like my predecessor had a signing bonus. It was $10,000 paid out over a year, and it was $5,000 referral for anyone in the company who refers somebody. And we actually didn't get that many applicants back then. We didn't get that many applicants, and we didn't get really any referrals. And I actually did away with our referral bonus and did away with our signing bonus, and referrals shot up and applicants shot up.
What?
And it was really funny. It kind of made me scratch my head. But the reason I did it was that I felt that my team was hesitant to make referrals when they knew they were getting paid for them, because they felt like they were really sticking their neck out. Like if they're going to receive dollars for this referral, it better be like totally watertight. Like they weren't really willing to take a risk because they felt like they were putting their job on the line, right? Like I would take it out on them if I gave them $5,000 for a referral and it didn't work out. Whether they felt that way about me or that's just the way they felt about the referral bonus in general. So when we did away with it, referrals actually shot up, which is really interesting. So like for us, like we've sort of like I don't know how useful this is to any listeners or for yourself or anything, but for us, we've kind of like removed ourselves from the arms race. And we've strictly like buckled down on what we can control inside of these four walls and just taking really good care of people. We've also gotten really good around like storytelling, right? So like if you're a technician and I get you in a room, like during your interview process, you're sold. Like it's just the way it is. So, cause I can talk to you about like where we came from, where we've been, what we're about, what we care about, how we operate. And if you're the right guy, if you're a guy that we want, like we're going to get you. All of our guys are well compensated. We have a lot of upside in our compensation, and solid base wages and stuff like that. But
so
it's
not 100% performance. It's base with possible. Okay.
Yeah. We're base plus performance.
Okay. So listen, I'm not your typical guy. I don't want to ask you the same questions that are on all the, you've already said it. So I'm not going to do that. It's not how I roll. But I'm going to open up this time for you. I hope you're licking your chops. For you to go off on all the stupid stuff that you see out there on the webs or in podcasts, that just people that have it, like they're not thinking about it right. Like buying a business is really hot right now, especially the trades. Like what is the stuff that just like blows your mind that you're not even seeing? You just, it's lies, right? And I've got my own, but I'm just saying, like, what is the stuff that you're just like scratching your head and you're like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. All right. We can have some fun with this. I'd say the first one that just like pops in my mind immediately is this idea that like, all it takes is like buying a company and just answering the phone, right? Like get rid of the fax machine, answer the phone, or, buy a company and spend money on Google ads. Right. And that like the boomers who ran these businesses, like just had no idea what they were doing. And like, it's on us to like come in and like show them the ropes. The reality is like, there's so much more to this. You know what I mean? Like all of my sophisticated competitors, private equity backed, moneyed competitors who are losing their talent to my companies, um, like they're all answering the phone. They're all spending money on Google ads. You know what I mean? They're still in some ways they're losing. So like just to do this well is like so multifaceted. And I think like there, you know, and related to that is like it is so multifaceted. And I think you have to be willing to like truly immerse yourself in the business and in this business, right? Like you need to understand like where the industry is going, the technology available, like the preferences of the consumer, the preferences of the staff, the talent pool. It's like, are you really like living and breathing this? And I think like for guys who think they're going to buy a business and then like insert a general manager and like go sit on a beach for the next 10 years and just like cash checks, um, it's a fantasy. Or they're just going to get their lunch eaten. That's what's going to happen. Because like someone like me, someone like you, someone like John, like we're just going to come in and just
Rich,
eat off their plate.
I have no problem saying, and I will say it till I'm blue in the face. If I was not here, we would not. Its business wouldn't be around. I mean, literally, I knew nothing about the trade besides buying some for some rental properties, which in Texas is totally different than up here anyway, right? But the nuance, right? Here's what people don't talk about. You think that the owner that's selling you the business is sick and tired of making money? No, he's not. He's sick and tired of the technology that's coming down the pipeline. Like the stuff you've seen that's coming out in the near future would blow your mind out of the back of your body. These people don't understand what's coming down. And if you're not willing, you know what we say to ourselves all the time? Well, we're about hired up, so we don't need to hire for a little bit. And then 2 days later, I need 4 more people. I need this change. There's so much nuance in the day to day, and it doesn't mean that you have to like be installing the HVAC stuff. That's not what I'm saying. But you gotta. It's like the pulse of the business that people think you can just hear it from a spreadsheet. It just doesn't. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, there's like no substitute for like executive energy and executive focus. You know, we, you know, when we first took over this business, and I'm coming to you from New Hampshire right now. When we first took it over, there was a general manager in place that we inherited, and initially, like we, you know, he seemed like a good guy. We liked him, and and we, like, I stayed remote. You know, a lot of like guidance and coaching, like very much like involved, but not on site. And he ended up not being a great fit. So like 8 months later, we moved him on, and I came in like late 2022, and I've been running this company ever since. And that was, you know, like you can look at the growth chart, and it literally like Rich shows up, and it's like bam. And it's not even that I'm supremely talented or something like that, right? It's just like it's just that energy and that ownership, focus, the guidance and intent, like on the line, you know, at the point of influence, at the point of friction. There's just no substitute for it. There's really not.
Well, I mean, prime example is if you ask my sales guys at the beginning of the year what their goals was, you're talking to me. Okay, they're going to be 3x once you talk to me because I'm not, con is not the right word. I'm going to coach you into getting above, right? But like they're both going to blow out the best years they've ever had by double, if not triple. And they're like, "Oh my God, my whole life's changed." And I'm like, "Yeah, because you're smart, you're very capable. Like we're going to give you the tools necessary to like do your thing." And so it's like that, like what I realized something is like there's a lot of aspects of the business that I don't even do anymore, but they enjoy me and my CEO being there at all times because we provide kind of that not focus is the right word, but that initial energy, like you're saying, that executive energy is just it's unmatched because we're never Like you and I are never going to be full.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't get full. Like
Oh,
we had. Go ahead.
sorry. I think a big part of it is that you can see it, right? Like you can see the horizon. And a lot of times, like, and to their credit, a lot of the folks on your team are looking down and they're just rowing the boat, right? Like they're just rowing as hard as they can. You know what I mean? And you got to row the boat too, but you got to be able to keep your eyes up and look for land. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hey, the way we're doing this right now sucks. You know what I mean? The way we're doing whatever administrative tasks, like it just sucks. But I know that if we can just get to next month, we can just get another 50,000 in revenue, then I can afford to hire this person, or I can pay for this piece of software, or we'll just solve this problem or whatever it is. And for one, so I think someone has to have like that, their eyes up. And someone just has to like have the mindset of like the way we do it right now isn't how we always have to do it. You know, like that's something that I catch my team with occasionally. It's like, hey, look, like, and a lot of times they're putting in like extraordinary effort, like in a lot of cases, like more effort than I would be willing to put in myself, you know? And it's like, man, like we could be doing this better. Let's like take 30 minutes and just think through how we could work smarter here. And I think that allows you to basically what you're doing is like without increasing the team, you've unlocked capacity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which then enables you to grow.
So a question I have for you is you're bigger than I and your team's bigger. One of the things that I deal with on a regular basis, and it's just a happenstance, it's who I am as a person. There's a million problems in the business day to day that I could fix in like 2.5 seconds. But if I do that, we don't scale. If I do that, they don't learn. You know, how like I kind of just like disappear sometimes, so I don't like have to like. How do you teach yourself to like keep your hands out of it when you know you could fix it in like 5 seconds?
So I am notorious in my business for like everybody knows that like Rich is going to answer your question with a question.
Okay.
And what I've told at first people, you know, it sometimes irritates people, right? But what I've kind of messaged to the team, like especially like my new, you know, people that have become managers on this team in the last, you know, 12 months, is like when me, Rich, just gives you the answer, it's because I'm like too lazy, too tired, too busy, or I've just decided that your like education and development is not worth my time today. So I'm just going to give you the answer. And occasionally that does happen, right? But like that's me not being at my best. And like so that's what I've told the team. So like now they kind of like understand like, all right, yeah, Rich is going to answer my question with the question. He's going to help me get to the answer. Or he's going to point me towards the resources that I can use to get to the answer. And when he doesn't, like that's a failure on everybody, right? It's a failure on Rich and it's a failure on me. So like kind of reframing that for the team, I think has been really useful. That's been helpful.
So I've had Reg on here, I've had Josh on here, I've had Jack, I've had you, and I've done 1,200 of these. And every time you say something, somebody says something that changes my life. And what you just said right there about I don't value your education, that will never leave me now. Like it'll never leave me because that's my goal in life is to elevate everybody. And if I don't provide the tools necessary to do that, then I'm failing at the one thing I care about. It's not revenue. And so like, boom, done. Fixed. Like, you know, like it's like, okay, got it, noted. Then I need to spend more time on my end, you know, drawing it out. And so, I love that. That's so great.
Yeah, sometimes it takes more effort. A lot of times it takes more effort to not do it. So sometimes you're not at your best, you know?
I had to apologize this morning. So like, I'm not in the day-to-day project manager stuff. I'm not. but I like to get there Monday morning. Well, there was an issue. Somehow I got dragged into the middle of a sales guy and a conversation that I should not have been a part of because I have no idea what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And I acted like an ass. And I went and apologized, and I said, I promise you that I will no longer be pulled into conversations I don't belong to be in. And my salesman he's joking, but he looked at me and he goes, finally, you've admitted after 2 years that you should that you should be involved in certain shit. But like, I realized like you just put yourself in the wrong position, that you didn't act properly, and like, it's cool. Like, move on from it. Like, I said my piece. And so like, that's my question to you is like, what have you learned most? I stand behind this, period. There's no bigger personal development or life growing skill. Either it'll chew you up or make you better. What than buying a business and dealing with managing people? What is it that you've learned most about yourself in this journey from 3 employees to 99 employees?
Yeah, that's tough. I think for me, like I have felt, I'm sure you can relate, is that like my job changes every 3 to 6 months.
Every hour.
Yeah. So, 6 months ago, it was like warehousing and inventory and replenishment.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 months, it's been sales and close rates and commissions and stuff like that. So what have I learned most about myself? I don't know. I mean, I think I've reinforced for myself that with enough like focus and bandwidth, like I can learn anything. And I have to be able to learn anything. 'Cause like as the owner, right, like we're talking about having this vision, right, and driving the company forward and that executive energy. A big part of that is like, you have to be like, you're like the one person in your company who's going to like be at the forefront when it comes to like this new functional area of the business, right? Like now the company's big enough to have a finance function or a marketing function in house, like someone's got to like learn that and hire for that and vet that and manage that. And I think oftentimes that's the owner's charge to like push the company forward or like decide how we're going to operate. Like what are our like principles and like what are like the what's the framework that we're going to operate within and how we're going to guide this company. And a lot of times you just don't have the answer. Like I have some things that I picked up from the Marine Corps and I brought into the business, but a lot of them I've had to like learn myself, pick up a book, call somebody who's doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I don't know. I don't know if that's a great answer to your question, but that's what kind of comes to my head.
No, it's an amazing answer. And you have no idea how much it resonates with me. I have a separate question. This is a selfish question, but in the same vein. I am toying with the idea of how much I actually need to know about the HVAC stuff and the plumbing stuff. And I'm wondering because there's 90 other things I have to learn, financial function, accounting function, sales, all this stuff. Whether I'm just filling my head with stuff that at the end of the day doesn't matter if I have talented people that know it. Like, what's your view on like how much you spend learning that as an owner?
Yeah. I think it's a big part of it is based on the size of your business. I think at a small size, there is a decent amount of trade knowledge that you should know. Like you're so close to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like when 4 years ago, like I could install a sewer, I could repair a water service line, I could install a water heater. You know what I mean? And in some cases, I had to. But even when I didn't have to, I still had to understand those things to a level where I knew like what materials were required to resource the technician to do that job, what those materials cost to make sure we're pricing the job right, and how long it was going to take him to do the job from a pricing standpoint and also from like a dispatch and scheduling standpoint, a customer expectation standpoint, right? And like I didn't have the business was not large enough for me to like have another subject matter expert that I could lean on. How did I learn those things? It's, talking to the technician, right? And asking the right questions, right? When I didn't have the answer. Hey, looking for a price, technicians calling me looking for a price on this. All right. How much material do you need? How long is it going to take you? Right. Like asking them basic questions. So I think like when you don't have like talented frontline managers on your team because your team's so small,
Sure.
that is the job of a frontline manager is basically what I'm saying. Now I have like super talented frontline managers, and it's like my requirement to understand the trade is less of a requirement. I still think like you don't want to like get caught on the phone with a customer or something and like not know what the hell you're talking about. So there is an element of like knowing your shit. And I think I think guys respect like when you have like a healthy curiosity for the trade. Like for me, like I've always kind of enjoyed hydronic heating, like boilers and like how all that works. And I've done like some self education on that. And like, I love like shooting the shit, play to your strengths. Like I love shooting the shit on hydronics with the guys in the warehouse, And I think like that, goes a long way just for like culture and stuff. So you can kind of pick your spots.
That's what I was thinking too. Like they won't stop talking about the time in the middle of winter when I climbed underneath the house and ran the wires in overalls, and like, right. So I just think that it's, you're going to conferences, you're going to trade events, I think it's not the worst thing in the world to have a basic understanding of, what they're talking about. So I really enjoyed this conversation. If people want to reach out to you, they want to find out about what your company's doing, how would they do that?
Yeah, sure. You can look us up at realstrongpoint.com. You can definitely find me on Twitter at strongpointrich. I'd say if you're HVAC, plumbing, electrical owner, like sub $20 million, we've got some coaching spots open as well. Happy to help guys tactically and strategically.
So Rich there's only like, I've only met like 3 or 5 that I actually want to talk to. And I have no problem saying the rest are douchebags. So we'll put them in my Mount Rushmore of like actual operators.
Nice.
Matt Ballard being one of them, who's the gangsterous. I mean, I don't think I've ever met a cooler and nicer operator in my entire life.
That's OG. That's legit.
Yeah. I'm going out there and for my birthday in December to go play golf with him and nice. Go hang. I want to just check out his shop. But if you like this episode, send it around to a friend, share it, and we'll see you next time.